Spend some time with me today as we look for ways to process your emotions. My name is Alina Gastesi-de, and I am a life and relationship coach with close to 30 years of experience helping individuals, families, and couples find their ways to live a fuller, more rewarding life with their loved ones and in their relationships. I'd like to teach you these strategies through my YouTube videos. If you like this video and want to see more, please ring the bell below and hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when I post another video. So let's get started. The most important thing we want to talk about in this video is that you will find out how you can manage your emotions without letting them manage you. Put simply, managing emotions is about being able to name it, claim it, and tame it, then reframe it so your emotions can work for you as well as provide you with important feedback, helping you solve problems and enhance your relationships. There are two main ways to do this: emotional processing and emotional regulation. Emotional processing entails being aware of what we're feeling and how our emotions connect with past experiences. Emotional regulation entails accurately sensing, managing your emotions from moment to moment in real-time situations. If we don't process our emotions, we are at the mercy of them, reacting to life out of our intense feelings, unmet needs, outdated scripts, and fears. Let's try to befriend our emotions, recognize, respect, and understand them, and finally work with them. That's the work of emotional processing. Unhindered by intense, painful emotions, you can make decisions with clarity and have a positive influence over others. If you're not in touch with your emotions, you can't respond appropriately because your emotions, like it or not, are there, clouding your judgment and managing you. Let's begin by figuring out how emotions help you. Identifying, expressing, and releasing emotions skillfully can increase energy, mood, memory, concentration, and overall health. Emotional lingering for hours or days are called moods. Emotions have a purpose. They're intimately connected to our motivation and drives. Fear can motivate us to flee a threat. Anger can motivate us to confront it. Motivated by love or desire to feel it, one might seek a mate or reproduce. Our emotions are there to help us prioritize, plan, and focus on what needs attention by influencing our thought process. So if emotions serve all these positive purposes, why can they be so disruptive? Well, we have more neurons in our cerebral cortex than any other animal. Our cerebral cortex has sophisticated capacities like self-awareness, language, problem-solving, abstract thinking, executive functioning, and visual spatial abilities. But with all of these talents comes a downside: the ability to worry, perseverate, and project into the future things that will not most likely ever happen. Practical optimism helps us maximize our brain's positive capacities while setting boundaries around our less productive thinking processes. We might think worrying helps, but there's a difference between the concern that leads to planning and the prevention of problems and the treadmill of excessive worry. I've been on the treadmill where there's no getting out of my own thought process, and I had to learn to set things aside and move towards more positive thinking patterns. The treadmill of negative thinking and rumination kept me up at night, affected my drive, and took me into a spiral that was very hard to get out of. I had to learn to identify and process my emotions so that they wouldn't overcome me. Although most emotions are brief, a negative emotion is important. The emotion will most likely persist. Sadness might persist much longer because it's often related to prolonged changing life circumstances like loss or bereavement. When I lost my children as children and they became adults, I was sad. My influence on them was different. I couldn't demand or suggest things without a great deal of thought behind it, because it would be refuted almost instantly. This was when my emotions were tied to my identity. And sometimes a situation that's forced us to question what we believe to be true is really important. It's important to appreciate the fleeting nature of emotions so we don't get bogged down by them or fear opening the emotional floodgates. Emotions will subside within minutes if we simply observe the thoughts, feelings, and body sensations occurring and don't engage. Emotions provide valuable information and can help us make decisions if we're in touch with them, and we can regulate them. So, unprocessed, the emotions can dominate to the point that they no longer protect or connect us. These emotions include the grief or loss, the churn of chronic anxiety, and the shame, fear, and anger that are the toxic legacy of trauma. Unprocessed, these put us at risk for a myriad of physical and mental health problems. I learned the hard way. In the midst of my kids' difficulties, I developed an autoimmune disease, which gave me intense brain fog that was uncomfortable and uncontrollable and unexplainable. I learned from reading and studying that chronic stress and chronic worry are toxic to the body and can create many different illnesses. During this, I was overestimating the threat of my children's decisions and underestimating my own capabilities of handling them. I learned that chronic stress causes a decline in brain functioning that's associated with depression and memory problems. I certainly didn't want to deal with that. The definition of stress is external demand and expectations that overwhelm our inner capacity and resources to handle them. Anxiety is in small quantities are just enough to motivate you, not to paralyze you. Stress isn't really the issue. The problem is actually our perception of it. If we perceive something to be manageable, it likely will be. But if we perceive it to be unmanageable and overwhelming, that will be too. So one of our biggest enemies to all of this is rumination, that is, looped thoughts that do not stop. Sometimes we feel the distress of these loops. Other times, we barely notice them until emotional processing makes us aware. So this is what practical optimism does. It helps us detect and promote a sense of control through many modalities. Through problem solving, promoting proficiency, challenging distortions, and reframing negative thoughts, we're trying to activate our hope circuitry. Hope circuitry is the anti-rumination pill. The first step to all of this is self-awareness. Self-awareness starts with being able to pay attention to our emotions without needing to respond or change things. We often cut ourselves off from our feelings through numbness, distractions, or self-medication. This sends our brain the message that emotions are to be avoided instead of understood, processed, and regulated. We end up with headaches, leg cramps, weakness in strange parts of our body, anxiety, depression, insomnia, gastritis, high blood pressure, chronic pain and inflammation, and even autoimmune diseases and heart diseases. Our avoidance responses tend to be tactics that we developed in the past that might not be healthy for us, and sometimes for others, then or now. So let's name it. Once you label your emotion, you will feel quite liberated because it doesn't define you. On the contrary, it's an emotion that you define. I feel sad, I feel angry, or I feel defeated. They allow you to separate yourself from the emotion. You can label the emotion and not do anything with it. You're in charge. You need to help in naming your emotion. Please don't hesitate to drop a message to me so we can connect. The third step is taming your emotions. There are 4 go-to practices for building emotional processing muscles. Number 1, disrupt the unhealthy emotional patterns with healthy coping. Number 2, break negative emotional loops with decentering. Number 3, befriend your mind and your body. Number 4, empty your anxiety spam folder into a word journal. Let's talk about the 4 C's of healthy coping. Number 1, compassion. Let yourself be who you are and don't beat yourself up over who you are not. Number 2, correction. It should be addressed, the underlying problem, or at least not make it worse in avoidance behaviors like binging, cutting, substance abuse, numbing out with gaming, media, binging or scrolling, or excessive shopping, gambling, only lead to shame, more emotional distress, or problems that top the underlying problem that already existed. A corrective coping strategy can be an insight. The third C is calming. A healthy coping mechanism should create calming, distance from anger, anxiety, or aggression so you can problem solve. Developing a simple but regular breathing practice, mindfulness practice, meditation practice, or journaling practice can help us regain calm. Turn to nature, exercise, yoga, cooking, or gardening. I turn to painting, especially during the most difficult times. It allows me to drift away from the emotion, regain clarity, and stay present in what I am doing. Finally, connected. Ideally, our coping mechanisms seek to connect us better, leading to improved communication with people we want or need to interact with. Most importantly, please remember, you don't have to believe all your thoughts. They're just thoughts, and reality testing can help. Most importantly, journaling. When you write it down on paper and you can read it and become more aware of how distorted you're thinking and how to decenter yourself. If you are looking for ways to refocus yourself, tune in to the next video and let's do some exercises to help you. Acknowledge and use your breath as well as reconnect with your body. Again, thank you for watching, and please leave any comments below. We will meet again soon.